Very good afternoon to all the dignitaries. Today's speaker, Mr. Javed Khan, HODs, faculties, and my dear peers. Myself, Pranik Agrawal, on behalf of Cuba Group of Institute Bhopal, welcomes you all in today's webinar on role of planning and management in construction industries, organized by the Department of Civil Engineering, Cuba, Institute of Engineering and Information Technology. I want give I want to give my deepest gratitude to our BOG members, Shri Shyam Rathore sir, Shri Sunil Dandi sir, Shri Dharmendra Raghuvanshi sir. I welcome our Executive Director of Tuba Group of Institute, Dr. Manish Manoria sir. And I also would like to welcome the convener of this webinar and Head of Civil Engineering Department, Professor Rashmi Sakalle ma'am. Now, I am very delighted to welcome our expert, Mr. Javed Khan sir, who will introduce you all with the skill you should develop in your life, which is planning, management, and execution, which are the keys to success in life. Before proceeding further, a small sort of instruction for the participants that they should not unmute themselves during the session. Now, I request our moderator of the webinar, Professor Ankita Chaube ma'am, to say a few words about our keynote speaker, Mr. Javed Khan sir. Ma'am?
Hello?
Yes, madam, you're audible. Yes, madam, you're audible.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Okay. So, hello?
Madam, आप
Yes,
audible
ma'am, you
हैं?
are audible.
You can continue.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Okay.
आपका वीडियो आपका नहीं आ रहा है लेकिन.
अच्छा, okay, ma'am. 1 second, ma'am. So I would like to introduce Mr. Javed. He is a senior planning engineer currently working in Napoleon Coal India on ambitious project which is Western Dedicated Front Corridor. Sir is also have a experience more than 6.5 years in the field of in construction engineering, and sir has completed his B from Bansal Institute of Engineering and his master's degree from Construction Planning Management from RICS SBE, and he is also having many more projects that are some of the projects which are broadly for one of the most important project was BOE, which is the largest aircraft manufacturing of USA. So we are very thankful for the session. So sir, I request sir to start this webinar without delaying. Sir?
Thank you very much, Ankita ma'am, for introducing me. A very good afternoon or good evening to everyone present in the webinar. And today's webinar will be regarding the planning and management in construction industry. So it will not be a very deep kind of a webinar. It will be a kind of orientation to all the students so that they can go and learn more about it. So today we will know the overview of how things are done and why it is important to have a management and planning during the construction projects. So why it is important is, see, because if the management is not available, because the construction projects are not last some weeks, the construction project lasts for more or years, like 2 years, 3 years. Even the infrastructure projects in our country, like metros, they last for like 10 years or so. So if the management is not available, you may lose the alignment. So the strategies developed at the starting during the planning phase of the project keep you aligned with the strategic importance of the project. The second thing is provides you the leadership. So the management will always guide and lead you throughout the project life cycle. So you will have the clear focus and your objectives are clear. So you will not lose your focus during the life cycle of project. And it also helps to develop a realistic project plan. Also helps in keeping the quality and have the risk management, because you cannot have, hello, hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Yeah, I was losing some of the videos. Yeah.
No.
So so it also paves the way for risk management, because if the project is like planned for like 10 years, you may have some issues coming like at the end of like 4 years. So you also have to have a risk management plan available with you, so that if anything happens in due course of time, you have a stringent contingency funds available for that. There, and also the management plans help you to have an orderly process for everything, be it a change management, be it strategic management, stakeholder management, anything. So it will give you a continuous oversight throughout the project life cycle. And also there will be subject matter expertise available with you in form of the management. So at the end of the project, you will have something which will guide you through the way, and your project will be successful. And even whatever the failure you face in due course of time, you will note down all the failures which you can use in the next project as your guiding way. So why we need management? Because the construction projects are so complex. There are many departments included in the projects, be it civil engineering, be it MEP department, finishing, facade, landscape. So there is a complex environment which we need to deal. There are hundreds and thousands of people involved. So we need a proper way of doing things. Also, the projects are handled in dynamic environment which changes. So the strategy which we use in a summer project, when the rain comes, we have to change the strategy for the projects, because there may be a flooding in the area. There may be, if we are working in the basement, there may be flooding in the areas. We have to keep the pumps to get the water. So the dynamic environment requires the management to be very active. Also, there are constraints which are very tight. If you lose the management, you may lose on the objectives of things. So we will know about the constraints later in the slides. Also, many of the, as I told you, many of the departments need to be integrated. Then only your work can happen. Otherwise, if you know there, if in some work, if many departments are involved, there is a possibility that your work may delay. And also, there are several cross-functional jobs which need to be done. For example, planning, and then procurement, and then human resource. You have to hire the people, engineers and laborers. So there are different functions involved in the project. So you need the management. Talking about the planning, it is the subhead. So it comes under the management. There are different type of management I will talk about in this webinar, but we will go through the planning in detail. So why do we need a plan or a schedule? A plan will tell you what exactly you have to do. So in form of the scope. Scope is something which is defined in the contract documents and which tells you what is this project all about. So if it's a building project, it will tell you the features of building. For example, if it is a G+40 building, what kind of finishes involved, how many elevators are there, how many staircases are there, what kind of loading is there. So the scope will tell you what all works are involved, whether the landscaping is in scope, whether the MEP work is in scope or not, painting is there or not. So it gives you the scope recognition in form of a plan. The second thing is the task definitions. So once the scope is there, you have to break down that scope into several tasks, and then you have to identify the responsibilities of people who is going to do what. So that also is involved in the plan. Then to do the work, you need some resources. You need the labor, you need material, equipment, manpower, money, and many things you will need. So how you are going to use those resources, this is what is going to be in your plan. Then once the plan is ready, then your planning will help you to track and monitor your plan, and then you can control your plan if it is not on time or your cost is going over budget or under budget, then you can say. And the last reason why planning is important is when you have the project done, and for example some delay happened, and now you want to claim the extension of time. So at that time of uh, at that point of time, you will need your plan. See what was in the plan and how you deviated from it. So the claim analysis will also require the planning, and then quantification, and for your defense also you will use your plan. So if we talk about the management by definition, it's the application of your knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to the project activities to meet the project requirement. So this is the definition given by PMI USA. And now we are coming to the triple constraint of project. So triple constraints, it is something that a project is bound by. So triple constraint is scope, time, and cost. This is on the 3 points of the triangle. Any point, if you stretch, the other two are going to have an impact on it. So for example, you are going to increase the scope. If you have a G plus 40 story building, it requires some time. For example, X amount of time it is required, and the cost is Y. If you increase the height of building, you are going to get more time into the building. Also, the cost will increase. Similarly, if you increase the time or decrease the time, you are going to have impact on both of the other constraints. Similarly, with the cost and quality comes in between these. So all these four constraints you have to manage very well into the project. For the contractors, the cost is a very important part, and to manage the cost, time is very important. For example, if you are doing a project which is 2 years long, you will have some kind of labor on board. They work for the 2 years. Even if they work one day more than your plan, you will have some cost assigned to it. So time, cost, and scope are very important. So the control dimensions are these only. You have to continuously keep an eye on the scope, time, cost, quality, and the resources. And there are some of the characteristics of project, how how the projects are different from processes or operations. So the projects have a unique purpose. So there is a purpose of all the projects, be it an infrastructure project or it's a commercial project or a real estate project. There is a purpose. For example, if you are going to build a flyover, it is going to have a purpose. It is going to solve your purpose of traffic congestion. So projects are realistic. They are made into reality. It's nothing virtual here. And the projects are limited by time and the context. They are complex, they are collected, they are unique. It can be assessed. So the performance can be measured anytime. So if the project have started and 3 months of period has gone, you can anytime you can have a schedule in your hand and you can measure what was supposed to happen at that point of time and where you are currently. So it can be assessed. And projects are made up of stages. So life cycles. We will talk about life cycles later in the slides. So there are two types of life cycles. So one life cycle we will discuss here. So what is the life cycle of project? So life cycle is from where the project is started to how it is going to close. So if you see it starts from the project initiation. So when the project starts, so the project starts from the strategic definition. There is some employer or client who is having an idea of developing a project. There is a need or there is an opportunity. So if a project is taken up in some ways for creating an opportunity, for example, a commercial project or a residential project, and it may also be taken to help solve some problem. For example, a dam or a highway or expressway or railway. So initiation part of the project will involve the feasibility studies, the surveys, and the planning, initiation planning. For example, the budget planning and all these things. Then it will go into project planning, where the detailed planning of the project will be done in terms of resources, in terms of change management, scope management, cost management, time management, stakeholder management. All these things will be done in this phase. And once all these things are in place, all management plans are fixed, then the project execution will start. Project execution will start, and then in due course of time, you will have a monitoring also. So once the project is start and it's in its life cycle, you will have the project monitoring in place. And when you complete the total scope of work, you will close the project. During the closure of the project, you will once again check all the scope or all the objectives that you laid in the planning phase of the project are achieved or not. So what all are the requirements of your employer or client, which is available in the initiation documents or scope requirements, need to be closed, then only the project will be say as successfully closed. So this is the life cycle of project. So it defines the phases of project and what kind of work need to be performed in each phase. There are some inputs which goes into the phases, and each phase results in some output which then act as an input to next phase of the project. So there are some process groups which are there. So based on PMI USA, there are 5 process groups which are initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and control, and closing. We have talked about them. And there are some core knowledge areas in project management, which also we have to discuss. So scope, time, cost, quality, human resource, risk, procurement, and communication. And the latest addition is stakeholder management. So stakeholder also I will tell you what stakeholders are. So you might have listened a term called shareholders. So shareholders are someone who have shares in some company or something. But stakeholders is different from shareholders. Stakeholders are the people who can impact the project or can be impacted by the project. So all 2 categories are involved. So for example, an employer or a client who is having the idea of developing a project is a direct stakeholder. And a person who is going to buy the house in that property is also the stakeholder. So because he is going to impact it, he is going to have a new house. Or in case of a metro project, the general public who is going to use the metro is also the stakeholder. Or the people who are having the agricultural land on which the highway will go. So the land acquisition process will involve those stakeholders. Even if one person is not giving the land to the government agencies will create a problem. So all the stakeholders need to be managed very effectively in the project so that it can be completed successfully. So there are some tasks which need to be performed in all the project phases. For example, in initiation, you state the problem or you state the opportunity. Then you establish your overall goals, you define the objectives, what is the success criteria. So this is all done in the initiation phase of the project. In the planning phase, you identify the project activities from the scope. Then you estimate the activity durations, you develop a schedule, define your resource requirement, then you assign the task and responsibility to all the people who is going to do what. And then you finally you will have a project network, a Gantt chart, which is called the schedule. I'll show you how the schedule looks and how it is prepared. Monitoring and control phase will include what all you have in a schedule and how you're going to do. So plan versus achieve. You will, in due course of time, you will compare what was in the plan, what is actually happening, whether it is happening as per the schedule or not. If it is not happening, then you have some corrective measures that is called the monitoring. And then closer, you will have the project deliverables. You will obtain the customer acceptance, which anyway will happen as per the scope criteria. Then you have to complete the project documentation and issue final project report. Now, before going deep into the planning, we should know why the projects fail so that we can involve all those points into our planning so that our project will not fail. So the first thing is scope creep. Scope creep is nothing but change in scope. So for example, the contract document says G plus 40 story building you have to. You will need some, for example, you will need like 3 years for doing this task. In due course of time, when you started and you are on maybe on the 10th floor of the building, now the customer or the client wants to add like 2 more floors into the building. Now you have to change the plans. So for those 2 floors, maybe if you are having a slab cycle of 15 days, you will need extra 30 days to complete that. And if the change comes in way of, for example, the client says, I want to have a helipad on the terrace of the, then again the whole designing of the building will change. You have to check again the design calculation, the loading on the slabs, the columns, everything need to be checked, and if it is possible, then only it can be accommodated. So the scope creep, many most of the projects in India face scope creep. I'm talking especially about the infrastructure projects because in case of highways or railway projects, there are always a scope creep involved. That's why they take years and years of time. The other thing is project information gathering. So when you plan for a project, you need a number of informations available with you. For example, when you're doing the budgeting or bidding for a project, you need what all materials are required, what all machineries we need, and what are the rates of that. So in the planning process, you make some assumptions which are going to last for like 3 or 4 years. So you factor them into for the future also. So if that information is not correct, if you have taken X amount of steel is required and the Y is the rate of that steel, so you're going to get the X into Y, the cost of that component for you. But now, if later into the project, after 1 year or 2 years, if the cost is going to increase and you have not factored that cost into your budget, you are you are going to face the over budget. So that only will reduce your profit percentage. So poor information gathering is also one of the reasons why projects fail. The third is most important, unrealistic planning and scheduling. So generally what happens into the construction project planning is uh, the kind of parametric estimates are made. So planners see the other projects similarly, which they have done in the past, and then that uh, is taken into account, and the plans are made. So maybe the project scope is very different from this. The requirements are not same. If you take the general idea into consideration while planning for a project and not the very detail of project, it may face some problems. So for example, I have told you that for a metro project, if the land is need to be acquired and you have not taken into account the process of land acquisition into account, maybe 1 or 2%, if they go for a legal suit, then whole project will go for a toss. So whatever time you will lose in fighting a case against some farmer or 2, 3 farmers, that time is not taken into the planning and your schedule will fail. So this is one of the most reason why projects fail. Then top management commitment to the project. So there are some cash flows, inflows and outflows which are required to keep the projects running. If the cash inflow is affected, your project is going to face the problems. Also, if you are not following the right methodology, you are also going to face the problems. So now, while you are doing a project, how you measure that you are doing it right or not? So there are some measures of project success. So when the project is found satisfactory by the users, managers, or sponsors. So for example, you are doing project for an employer or a client. They have laid some XYZ success criteria for it. At the end of the project completion, there are some checklists which need to be signed by both the parties. And if found satisfactory, then only they are going to give you a final handing over certificate. So there is a measurement criteria. Also, if the project is delivered within the stipulated time frame or not. So you're having a project for 2 years, that's what is written in your contract agreement. And if you're not completing within 2 years of a time, you may face liquidated damages from the client. You have to face some fine over there. The third thing is if it is delivered within budget only. For example, your company has allotted a budget of 300 crore for the project, and there are some profit margins involved in that. If you are spending extra for that project, your company is going to lose the profit margins, and that no contractor makes. So other thing is if it is meeting client's expectation or not, and if it is meeting safety, quality, and environmental requirements or not. So the safety, quality, and environmental requirements also are very important. There are many projects which are facing NGT's stay orders because of not following the criteria of environmental impact assessment, or maybe the safety criteria or quality criteria. So this is also very important. Now coming into the project planning. So what exactly is project planning? So the process of choosing the one method and order of work to be adopted for a project from all the various ways and sequence which could be done. So in your easy terms, if I say you are choosing the action plan, a project may be delivered in number of ways, but you are choosing a particular plan to follow from the initial phase of the project till the closing. That's what's called your plan. And a plan will have many things included in that. So it will uh, have all the functions. It will have your cost part, your scheduling, your quality control, your safety management, and other things. Schedule is also one part of the plan. Many people have a very may take mistakenly a schedule as a plan. Schedule is just a document which has some tasks, has some start and end dates. So that's called a schedule, but it's not a plan. Plan is an overall term which is used for all the plans, not only for time management. So planning comes under the time management, and it includes activity definitions, the sequencing of activities, the resource estimating, duration estimates, schedule development, and schedule control. So once you have the scope available with you, the first task is to divide that scope into multiple parts and defining the activities which need to be done to achieve that. So for example, the G plus 40 structure of building you have to do. So there are multiple things you have to do. So for example, if you are having like 2 or 3 basements, first thing you have to do is to excavate. So you need to do the excavation. You have to do the substructure, then you have to do the superstructure, then you will do the architectural work, the finishing, the block work, plaster, then you do the facade work, the MEP work, electricals, mechanical work, the lift vendors will come in. Then the roads and other things will happen, and water distribution system. So all these are different packages which you will be defining, which we will be talking. So defining the activity definition will come from the WBS. We will talk about WBS in the next slide. then all those activities need to be sequenced in a manner. So you cannot sequence excavation after your roof happens. Excavation happens first, then your footing goes into it, then your backfilling, then plinth wheel, then you continue with the column and then beam, then slab and happens. So there is a sequence of all the activities which a planner needs to know. In that sequence only the activity will be executed on the site. So for doing the activity, you need some resources in terms of, labor, machinery, manpower, materials, and all those resources need to be arranged. So you need to know the procurement of those resources also. So if you need like 500 laborers for your project, you need to know from where you are going to arrange those laborers. So there are timekeeping departments in the companies which take care of the resource availability. So they will have some people maybe located in Bihar or Jharkhand. They will arrange the laborers for the project. So in the planning part, only we need to know how many people we need for this project and from where they are going to come. Also, how much material we need, what kind of material we need. So all these will happen in the quantity estimation part. Quantity surveyors will tell you how much concrete is involved into the project. And for doing that concrete, how many pumps we need, how many lorries we need, how many concrete pumps or batching plants is required. So all those resource estimation in detail will happen in the planning phase. Then once you have the sequence ready, you have to estimate the duration of the activity. For example, you are having 1,000 cubic meter of concrete, and you know that I'm having a batching plant of 60 cubic meter per day, then you can divide it and have a duration with you. And taking all this information, you can develop a schedule where you will be mentioning all the activity list sequenced in a manner and also defining what all the relationship who is going to do that task. So that will be your schedule. And once the schedule is ready and project goes into execution, you will control that schedule. So what all changes are happening into the project, you are going to track that project and control. So planning and scheduling, we have talked it that it is very essential and for the project management. And what it determines is what must be done, how is it going to perform, and what is the sequence order that we have already talked about. So there are some steps. So generate WBS. So work breakdown structure is one of the most important thing in planning that you should know if you are going to have be a planner into the construction industry. So then activity list that will come from the WBS itself. Then you are going to know the estimate of the durations and cost, the logic, and then the graphical representation, which will be your network diagram in form of a critical part. So activities, a single task of a bulk package which need to be done on ground is called the activity. And there are some identifying criteria. There are some guidelines for identifying activities. So for example, area of responsibility. For example, that activity is going to be executed by general contractor or a subcontractor or a HVAC contractor or a landscaping contractor. So on that basis also you can define the activities or you can group those activities and keep in a separate work package. Also the location on site. So for example, you are having 3 towers into a campus. So you can have an activity like excavation in tower A, excavation in tower B, and excavation in tower C. So on basis of location also you can define the activities. The third thing is structural element. So substructure, superstructure, or it's a architectural item. On that basis also activities can be defined. Flow requirements also can be defined. So for example, the activity require a mason or activity required a painter. So on that basis also can be defined. Now, there are 3 types of activities generally involved in the schedule. So one is production activities, that can directly be identified from a set of drawings. And that involve application of resources like material, labor, and equipment. These activities must always be completed, and failure to do so will, will result in failure in your plan or project failure. So these are the production activities. For example, you have to do concreting or excavation, or you have to lay the concrete or roads, etc. These are the production activities. There are some other activities that are called procurement activities. So procurement activity will involve the procurement of material, your equipment, your labor availability, etc., which are required for doing the production activities. So this will come before the production activities. So for example, uh, you are going to do the first task excavation. For that, you need the excavator and the operator of the excavator. So this is your procurement activity. Until unless you are having excavator, you cannot do the excavation. So in schedule, you will have the procurement activity listed, and then you will have the production activity listed. Other type of activities are management decision activities. So, for example, approval for a certain drawing, that is a management decision activity. So until unless your drawing is approved, you cannot start the work. In certain projects, consultants are involved, and the contractor is going to develop a drawing from the schematic drawing or conceptual drawing, and he will prepare a good for construction drawing that is called the GFC, and then they are going to submit it to the consultant to get the approval on that. So once the approval is given, then only work can be started. And now this approval time is also defined in the schedule as like 7 days. So those 7 days need to be factored into the schedule. And if the consultant takes more time, more than 7 days, the contractor is eligible to claim the delay into the process. Other types of there are two other types of activities. One is called the start milestone and finish milestones. Those are not activities; these are just the nodes in the schedule, which will tell you the project is starting on X or Y Z date and ending in certain date. So now we'll talk about the work breakdown structures. So the scope of work which we are having into your contract documents, you cannot do all work at a certain point of time or altogether. You have to divide the whole scope into smaller parts and logically sequence them so that you can, manage them separately. So, for example, I have told you the building example earlier. So, it will need your excavation work, your concrete work, then your architectural finishes work. So, all these will be the work packages. And those work packages will then be used to define the responsibility. For example, you have a subcontractor which will do all the concrete related work for you. But that subcontractor cannot do the electrical and mechanical work. You have to have a separate agency for that who are the experts in that field. So if you are going to install elevator, you need to maybe hire Schneider or Mitsubishi for that, because any other contractor cannot do that. And if they do, it will not follow the compliances. So you need to have identify the bug packages separately, and you have to allot the responsibilities to the concerned agencies. So when the WPS is decomposed into work packages, and then work package is decomposed into the activity. So work package is a well-defined scope of work, as I have told you, and each package may vary in size, must be a measurable and controllable unit of work. It must be identifiable in numerical accounting system in order to permit the capture of both budget and actual performance. So what happens is when you make a budget, you make some cost heads. So there will be certain costs which are assigned to the structural activities. There will be cost which is assigned to the electrical activities. Similarly, mechanical activities, landscape activities, and external development activities. So it will also help you to track what all work are causing the over budget or having the problem with it. So another name for work packages are called estimating account or line item or cost account. So in order to schedule, you have to decompose the project into smaller units called work packages, and then you have to plan for it. So here I have shown you a WBS. So in WBS, the highest level is called your project. Then you divide that project into several control accounts or divisions, or maybe you can divide it on the basis of material or on the basis of type of work. For example, mechanical, electrical. Here you have divided like concrete. So you can do it. Under mechanical also you can divide it plumbing and firefighting. Then under plumbing you can do piping work and equipment work. So this is the way you divide the work into smaller chunks so that it can be handled separately. Then there will be levels involved. So your contract document will tell you what kind of level of schedule you have to put. We will talk about it later into this slides. So how you can organize your WBS is according to phases also you can organize, according to major deliverables also, or sub projects also you can organize your WBS. So this is one WBS which is organized by phases. So here a residential project is first of all divided into phases. So phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. These phases may be taken simultaneously, or a phase may end, phase 1 may end, and then phase 2 can be started. So in planning, you can define the phase 1 will happen from like 2021 to 23. From 23, my phase 2 will start. After phase 2 of 2 years, phase 3 will start. So your plan accordingly will happen as per your WBS. So here you are seeing an example of WBS which is categorized on basis of phases. And then under phases also you can define the clusters. So for example, if you are having a plan for smart city, so you may develop certain clusters into some corners of the city where you will say this is the commercial cluster where all the commercial buildings are going to be there. So I'm going to develop this cluster first, and then the approach roads and other systems and hospitals, schools. So you can divide the whole project into multiple items, and then you can take it up separately. So this is the purpose served by WBS, which is work breakdown structure. Here you are seeing under cluster A, there are tower A. In cluster B, there are 3 towers, which are tower B1, B2, B3. There can be a number of projects that can be taken. Other example of WBS is it is organized by project phases. So instead of taking the phase of certain cluster, we have taken the planning phase, execution phase, monitoring phase, and control phase. So now in planning and initiation, we are doing project feasibility, design development. In execution, we are doing the procurement and construction. In monitoring, we are doing the risk management, quality control, and change management. In project closeout, we are the commissioning the project. Another way of doing or making the WBS is by sub projects. So this is from automotive plant, this WBS. So there will be some assembly shop, then paint shop, then body shop, and dealer specified options, central service, and tank car. So based on your project, you are going to divide it into multiple parts, smaller parts, which you can then manage effectively. So because you need different resources also for that part. So we have talked about WBS. Now the WBS dictionary, this is also part of plan where you develop this dictionary. So it is a set of companion documents to WBS, which will say that okay, this code of WBS will tell you the scope description or BOQ. It will be linked to the BOQ. BOQ is a bill of quantities, which is a contract document, based on which the contractor bids for the project. Sometimes it is given by the employer, or sometimes it is estimated from the contractor based on the contract conditions. So that WBS dictionary will tell you the BOQ items, the activities, the scheduled milestones, the cost milestone, resource requirement, or any other technical and other references available. So this is how WBS dictionary will look. So there will be serial number, there are cost elements, WBS elements, WBS codes, and then element description. There may be different n number of columns can be added to WH dictionary. So for example, for demolition or site preparation, you are having a code and you are having a description. In the next column, you may have, how much cost is occur for a particular, item. Or maybe you can say for demolition of per cubic meter concrete, I need this much amount of money. So that you can develop as WS dictionary. Now you're having all those information with you. You're having a project with a scope with you. You have broken down the scope into the WBS into the smaller packages. Now you are going to develop a schedule. So what level of schedule you have to develop, that also is very important. So generally what happens is L3 or L4 level schedules are developed in India, which will tell you, the work packages and the number of activities involved into those work packages. So level 0 is the total project. You may call it the project name also. So for example, project XYZ, this is the level 0. So that level will tell you from where the project is starting and where it is ending, or the major milestone of the project. So there will be a bar which will indicate you the project start point. For example, is starting in 2021 and ending in 2023 in some month. Then comes the level 1. So level 1 represents the schedule for the project as major components. So what we have seen, the same thing will happen into the this one also. So level 1 will show you the major component. For example, if you have taken into consideration the mechanical plant, so the assembly part will happen, assembly, cost, workshop, and then client area. So by that level, you will go deeper. So I will show you this diagram will show you. So in automotive plant, you may, this is the level 0. Then you can say level 1 is the assembly shop, print shop, body shop. Then if you go further down into it, then your level 2 will come. So level 1 will just decompose the level 0 into much smaller parts. But again, when you decompose it into later, then your level 2 will come. So level 2, each component is further subdivided for level 2. For example, utility systems are further divided into water, electricity, gas, storm, drainage, etc. So in most cases, level 2 schedules can only be shown as a bar chart, although key constants may also be displayed, and milestones are normally included. So milestones are some of the dates which the employer gives you. For example, I'll tell you for example, you take the metro projects. So there will be phases into metro projects. So you say the phase 1 of metro project, which will connect, X and Y area of the city, will be commissioned in year 25. So the government will say that this route of the metro will be commissioned in that day, and then the next phase will start. So that will be a milestone, and contractor need to fulfill that requirement. So that milestone need to be present into the planning. Then comes the level 3. You are again, subdividing those packages into much detailed parts. So level 3, level 4, and level 5, level 6 can be done. So, but generally level 4 schedules are okay to work with. So this we have discussed, the WS will be used for, identify the scope, budget, cost, and other things. And the division can be done basis of site work and materials and other services. Now, how you are going to estimate the activity duration? So you have now the list of activities, you have the work packages, you have the details available with you. The next thing you need to put is the duration of the activity. And for that, what you need? So you have to evaluate the activities one at a time, and you have to assume what are the resources you are going to use. So for example, you have to do a block work for a room. So there are there may be 80 square meter of block work available. Your mason, you're having a mason with you, and that mason can do 10 square meter per day of the work with the help of one helper. So that productivity details will be available with you from your past experiences. So that or that data may also be provided by a company in form of an Excel sheet, that is the database available with the company for you know from the previous project lesson learned. So what happens in the closing phase of our project is then taken into consideration into the planning process of next project. So when you're going to close the project, you will also document all the learnings from this project. So from other projects which have already been done, you have a database available with you that the resources which you deployed in those projects, how much activity, how much productivity they have produced. So now you know that one mason can do 8 square meter per day of block work with the help of one helper. And if you are having a 80 square meter of work, if you deploy one mason, you are going to need 8 days of a duration of time. Now, if you want to reduce that time, you can deploy, two masons, and you will end up having a 4 days of duration. So, based on the milestones given by the client or your employer, you are going to estimate the activity duration, and then again you have to adjust those activities so that your schedule can fit into within the milestones. Now, again, the next thing is activity duration is often estimated based on experience and judgment that I have told you already, and the quantity of work and few daily output. So activity duration, there is a formula. You put the quantity of work, your two daily output, then you will have your duration. Uh, Now we will talk about the factors which can affect the activity duration. So for example, what just I have given you the example of a mason who is working 8 square meter per day. But what happens if rain comes? If the rain comes and he may lose like 2 to 3 hours of a day work, and then at the end of the day you will get a productivity of maybe 3 square meter or 4 square meter. Now, if that consideration is not taken into the planning, you will end up having, 10 to 12 days for the activity which you have planned for only 8 days or 4 days. In that case, the project will be behind schedule. So these are the factors like weather and learning curve also, where when there are some new activities, involved in the project, then your labor will come and will need some time to learn those activities. For example, uh, a person who is doing block work or plaster and concreting work for the whole of his life. Now, if you put them into next project and take the same work, he may not need that much time to fit into those conditions. But in some projects which are designed uniquely, there are some new things included. So for doing those new things, you need to take into the learning curve also into account. You have to take the overtime also into the account. Space congestion is also consideration which is taken into planning. For example, you may think that for doing the excavation of 1,000 cubic meter area, if I put an excavator of capacity 100 cubic meter per day, I need only 100 days. If I put two, I will need 50 days. If I would put three, then again I will need some less days. But this, this calculation is not always practical, because you may not have that much space into your site that you can deploy so many excavators, or there may be some safety criteria which is over there that will not allow you to put so much equipment into those smaller areas. Then design changes and rework. Design changes and rework will need you extra time, which is not factored into your schedules. For example, you have done some work which is done wrong, and now you have to rework it. So, for example, you have done a concrete work for which the size was x in y dimensions. You have put a wrong formwork into place, and now you have to demolish that, and you have to recast it. So whatever time is required for doing the same work, maybe 1 or 2 days, that also you have to take into account. Okay, so we will now quickly wind up because we don't have that much time available with us, and we also have to have some question answer session. So while estimating the activity duration, we have to take some consideration into accounts. And then there are some constraints which I have told you. There are some physical constraints. Formwork must proceed pouring concrete. Resource availability, safety, and environmental conditions. And then once you have all the activities and the durations, you have to put the logic. So there are some sequence in which the activities will go. That sequence you should know. That sequence will define the critical part of the project. So there are the relationships and activities which will be there. Forward pass calculations. I think the final year students have already studied the forward pass and backward pass calculations, the floats and the PDM method. So I'll not go into that much detail. So this is how your schedule looks when you make the list of all the activities. So you can see the task name, the duration, the start date, finish date, and a bar chart. So this is how schedule looks. Into the schedule, if you see the first activity, this is your level 0. So the phase 4 project, ITPP4 Pune is going to have a duration of 362 days. This information is there. Now you can then divide that project into multiple phases. For example, main contract works and design engineering, procurement activities, and construction work. Into procurement, you will have different kind of procurement. For example, firefighting, transmission panel, LT panel, DG, chillers, HVAC. So based on your WBS, you may have different details available. Then there is a performance, criteria, how you are going to measure the performance. So there are some S curves which are used. So one is your plan curve, then your actual curve. The difference will tell you, how you are doing with the process. So for updating the projects, you will need the actual data, what is happening on the site. So that data you will take and put into your schedule, and that schedule will tell you whether you are ahead of schedule or behind the schedule. So that will form your project control part. If you are behind the schedule, you will deploy additional resources and you will make sure you catch up the schedule. There are some methods like earned value management which are used for measuring your performance. So due to time restrictions, we are not going that much into detail and directly going to the last slide of my presentation, which talks about how much opportunities are available into the construction industry in terms of different types of organization and different types of profiles. So here are you can take the screenshot of this, and these are the fields you can go into and you can target after your completion of your engineering. And now we will take the question answer if
Thank you, sir. Now, if any of the participants want to ask any question, they may raise hand. We will call them accordingly. Do anybody have to ask any
जावेद सर,
question?
मेरे को है क्वेश्चन आपसे.
जी
आई
जी
वांट टू, आप ये स्क्रीन शेयरिंग स्टॉप कर सकते हैं सर?
जी जी.
Okay. So can we have you on the screen?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, it was a very nice presentation, and it has covered so many aspects so beautifully. I must congratulate you. Thank you, sir, for showing this particular presentation and you giving a view to such a scope which is available to the students of civil engineering, and I would appreciate that. Now, I have a question. Ki, management is important in every life, every way of life, and so it is in construction also. So, like, we can plan it not only in the small areas, but also in the large sections also. That if the project is big, then also we can apply that, not only in small projects. But seeing to the current position, current scenarios, what sort of setbacks this industry is getting, and what sort of hampering is there in the planning part? Can you give some
Yeah,
quote
so
some? Yeah.
seeing the current condition of the pandemic of COVID-19, many of the projects are facing the labor issues. So what is happening is there are some lockdowns imposed by the government, and there is a fear in labor, and they want to go homes. So because of that, many of our projects, I'm working on an infrastructure project which employs, more than 10,000 of people. And currently we are having some hundreds of people available there. So there are problems related to, labor. Also, the material delivery is getting hampered because whatever labor is working on the rear end at the material, factories or plants or, river beds, they are not there. So material is also getting impacted. Also the manpower. So these are the challenges we are facing. Also, there is a challenge of, greater extent, which is, if the existing labor working on the site and they are getting infected by COVID-19, that is also a very big challenge, faced by the contractor. So how to, secure your working labor or working force from the COVID-19. So currently, what we have suggested as a, consultancy to our contractors, they are following the work in the segregated way. So in a site, the work is taken up into segregated way, not at the same time at all the areas. So we have divided like work into 50% zones, and the labor is working, half of the labor is working in that zone, half of the labor working in that zone, not very near to each other. The other thing is contractors are being given, ad hoc extension of times. So a contractor will need an extra amount of time to complete the work, because he is facing the labor issue and the productivity drops to, for some works it dropped to zero as well. So they are facing that issue, and the employer or the client are giving the contractors an ad hoc extension of time. They are releasing the part payment. That is one of the relief which we are giving to contractors, or that is one of the studies published by KPMG for Indian construction sector also suggests that the employers need to release the part payments for the contractor so that the cash flow of contractor is not hampered.
Okay.
So that is also very important. The next thing is, there are some, uh, people there are, which are saying we can give the construction workers a status of, frontline warriors, so that they can be vaccinated fast. So once they get vaccinated, they are the most affected
that
people.
also needs a large amount of time.
Yes.
Once you get a first dose of vaccine, you need to stay for 3 months, and then
Yeah, so
further
it will be better,
1 month for yeah.
even if a person who is already working on site, if he get like the first dose also, you may develop, some kind of immunity within themselves, and then they can go for, a second dose after, after 6 weeks or so. But there are problems for, for 40, below 45. There are mostly people working in construction industry, mainly the laborers are below 45. And there is a problem of vaccinating those people in our country. The web portals are not responding, or even the scarcity of vaccine. So there are some companies which are trying to, find as many as they can vaccines. Now there is some ties going on with the private hospitals like Apollo. But the cost also a consideration. Contractors cannot go beyond the limits and vaccinate their people. There will be some kind of assistance required from the government so that they can do this work. So these are all the challenges we are facing in this time, and also laborers is a two-way problem. If the work is not happening at site, contractors also facing the issue. But on the next side, the laborers who are the daily wage earners are not getting the work. So if the work starts, it's a win-win situation for the government, for the economy, for the labor, even for the engineers and civil engineering professionals like us who are involved into those projects.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
So really, you are facing that problem over there, being on the other side of the table, that when you're executing the jobs
Yes.
done that way. Okay. So the whole scenario of managing the work or plan management of the construction work has got disturbed.
Yes.
So if anybody else wants to ask something, he may ask.
Sir, there is a question in a chat box that construction of any big structure, which type of managing the time? Is it of Mayur Rahang Day? Mayur, will you please ask directly?
Yes, yes. गुड इवनिंग सर.
Yeah, good evening.
सर यही था मेरा क्वेश्चन कि सर एनी मतलब कि जो भी स्ट्रक्चर अपन बिल्ड करते हैं जितना बड़े से बड़ा स्ट्रक्चर उसको टाइम के ड्यूरेशन में कैसे कंप्लीट करें, मतलब कि टाइम जितना है उसी में कैसे उसको खत्म करें.
मयूर, बहुत अच्छा क्वेश्चन किया आपने. देखिए, अभी अगर आप देखेंगे कि जितने भी हमारे गवर्नमेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स होते हैं उसमें टाइम ज़्यादा इसलिए लगता है क्योंकि जो एजेंसीज इन्वॉल्व होती हैं उसमें दे टेक मोर टाइम एज कम्पेयर टू प्राइवेट प्रोजेक्ट्स. तो होता यह है जब आप एजेंसीज का इंटीग्रेशन अच्छे से नहीं करते हैं, जो कि मैंने प्लानिंग के स्टार्टिंग में बताया कि इंटीग्रेशन मैनेजमेंट इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. कोऑर्डिनेशन होना बहुत जरूरी है. तो एक डिपार्टमेंट से इंफॉर्मेशन दूसरे डिपार्टमेंट में जाने में जितना टाइम लगता है, अगर आप उसको बचा सकें तो आप जो प्रोजेक्ट है वो कम टाइम में कर सकते हैं. तो फॉर एग्जांपल, जो एग्जांपल मैंने दिया था कि अगर आप एक ड्राइंग को अप्रूव कराना चाहते हैं कंसल्टेंट से, अब वो ड्राइंग आप प्रिंट करके A3 में प्रिंट करते हैं, फिर उसको एक जो है बॉक्स में पैक करते हैं, देन आप उसको जो है आपके कंसल्टेंट का प्रेजेंट करते हैं. कंसल्टेंट के ऑफिस में मेरी जाने में 2 से 3 दिन लगते हैं. फिर उनके यहाँ जो अप्रूवर है वो उसको अप्रूव करने में 7-8 दिन लगाता है. तो आप सोचिए जब हजारों डॉक्यूमेंट्स के साथ अगर ये होगा तो कितना ज़्यादा टाइम हमारा वेस्ट होता है. तो इसी के कारण जो है हमारा टाइम वेस्ट होता है. अब इस प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करने के लिए जो टेक्नोलॉजी यूज़ की जा रही है उसको हम लोग कहते हैं बिल्डिंग इंफॉर्मेशन मॉडलिंग या BIM. तो इसमें क्या होता है कि एक इंटीग्रेटेड मॉडल होता है जिसपे सारी जो कंसल्टिंग फर्म है या जो एग्जीक्यूशन करने वाला कॉन्ट्रैक्टर है या फिर जो अप्रूवल देने वाला क्लाइंट है, तीनों एक ही मॉडल पर काम करते हैं और एक ही मॉडल को देखते हैं. तो ड्राइंग का अप्रूवल कराना और उसमें जो टाइम लगने वाला जो टाइम है उसको कम करना काफ़ी आसान हो जाता है. या अगर आप एक इलेक्ट्रॉनिक सिस्टम यूज़ करें जैसे कि ERP, तो भी आपका टाइम काफ़ी हद तक बच सकता है. आप देखें अगर अभी दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट ने कुछ ब्रिजेस बनाए हैं जैसे कि सिग्नेचर ब्रिज वगैरह, उनको बनाने में लगने वाला टाइम और कॉस्ट दोनों ही उन्होंने बहुत कम कर दिया। तो ऐसे भी मॉडल्स अवेलेबल हैं, बिकॉज क्योंकि कंस्ट्रक्शन इंडस्ट्री हमारी लार्जली फ्रेगमेंटेड इंडस्ट्री है। इस पर कोई एक रूल जो है गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से गाइडलाइन जारी नहीं होती है, जो कि सारी कंपनियों को फॉलो करनी पड़े, और क्योंकि छोटे छोटे कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स काम करते हैं इस इंडस्ट्री में, तो एक गाइडलाइन बनाना भी बहुत मुश्किल है। बड़ी कंपनियां जो हैं वो बिल्डिंग इंफॉर्मेशन मॉडलिंग भी यूज़ कर रही हैं, रेबिट भी यूज़ कर रही हैं, या फिर सिस्टम्स भी उनके पास हैं। तो जब वो प्रोजेक्ट्स उन कंपनीज को दिए जाते हैं, वो प्रोजेक्ट काफ़ी कम टाइम में पूरा कर दिए जाते हैं।
ओके सर, ओके।
Sir, there is a question from our ex-faculty, Nitin Tiwari sir. Sir,
Yeah. Thank you, Karnik. Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Hello, Javed sir. How are you?
Hello, Nitin. I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Javed, an excellent presentation, to be very honest. I really appreciate the way you presented, and you covered very minute things which is really necessary for the students to learn. And I highly appreciate, to be very honest. I mean, I'm grateful for you that you presented such a nicely to the students so that they can relate how project management is important. I remember when the students learn in the BTech, they say CPM ऐसे ही pass हो जाएंगे, it's just a normal subject. But when they comes to the real life, the practical life, the CPM play a more vital role than the technical subjects. I believe personally, because most of the people work in this particular area. My question is like quite related to the academic side. Since you have also done your BTech from the RGPV affiliated institute, I guess, or masters, something you have done from the Bhopal.
I have done
So
BTech from Bansal Institute.
yeah. So I just want to know, like, once you moved out to the industry, what is the limitation you felt like our curriculum having, and what sort of training you feel that we should impart in our students so that they can be skillful human resource in this particular field, specifically when I'm talking about the management skills. So what sort of the, like, I just want to know the missing link between the academia and the industry, which you find.
Very good question, Nitin. See, I have passed out in 2014, from BIST Bhopal, and after that I worked for 2 years in industry as a civil engineer. And at that point of time, I found that as a civil engineer, you are being, taught the very, details are there, but those details are not making you ready to work in a field from the very first day. When you go there, you have to learn some new, some principles, some past experiences of that company, because the companies are also not using that much, technological approach to doing certain tasks. So you do some, you spend some time like 2 years or 1 year of a time in the industry, then you recognize that, okay, these are the traits I need, these are the skills I need. For example, in today's era, where the designing is being done by, Revit architecture or Navisworks, students are learning AutoCAD. So that will make them outdated in the market. So, instead of learning AutoCAD, I know it's a very, highly used in our industry. All small fragmented firms are using this as the basic of the industry. But with learning with AutoCAD, learning a software like, STAAD Pro, or software like Revit Architectural, Navisworks, or ETABS, is very important for the students who are going to industry, because industry is changing, rapidly. Now Microsoft project is being used for scheduling, but Primavera, students learn Primavera pieces, it will give them additional edge over other participants, into an interview. So instead of learning some outdated stuff, they can learn new things. And thanks to online platforms like Udemy or Skillshare, they can learn it at very cheap prices also. So I will suggest all the students who are listening us, they can spend this time which they are amid of the pandemic, they are having a lot of time available to them. They can go to platforms like Udemy or LinkedIn Learning. And they can learn those softwares. in today's era, data analytics and data analysis is also very important, because most of the guys who will be sitting into the offices, if the corporate office they are sitting, data analysis part is very important. The reports will come to you. You have to make the MIS reports ready for it. You will have to play with numbers game. So this is very important for them. Even the students who are passed from our university, some of them don't know even the basics of Excel file. How to use VLOOKUP.
Yes, yes. We
The
always look
reality.
forward. We always look forward to Excel, because Excel is a very important software.
Yeah, it's
If
a
a
very
person knows
important
Excel, we have always been stressing on that. If a
Yeah.
person knows Excel, काफी सारे calculations and checks, he can do it himself.
Because of this gap with is available with the academia and industry, there are some institutes which came forward. For example, NICMAR. So it is an institute which is constituted by industry professionals, like from L&T and other companies, and now they are giving them the skills required. Same with the RICS or SPS. So they are imparting the current used skills, and the students which are passing out from them are ready to work with even the high class MNCs in the country. I have worked in a LNW Construction, which is a Singapore based company for 2 years. Now I'm working in a Japanese company. So the kind of softwares, the kind of working which are having in these companies require those special skills. So the skills.
So every student must, as far as what you are suggesting, every student must have a knowledge of softwares at
Yes,
least
yes.
to excel and to make his working easy.
Yes,
To
yes.
make his working easy. I mean, he's not doing it for any company, but he's doing it for smart working.
Yeah.
He wants to
You
work.
see, in
He
this,
has to work smartly,
yeah, in
and
this
that is
era
why he
of
has to.
digitalization, you cannot, depend on, notebooks and all. And being an engineer, you have to be very smart, in your workings, so that if someone is working out that information in 1 hour, an engineer should be able to extract that information into some minutes or so.
Yes.
So that's what the engineers are supposed to do, solving the problems innovatively.
So every time I think of such things, it comes to my mind that a civil engineer is not only an engineer, but he has to, as soon as he enters into the industry, he has to do a lot of management work, general management work.
Yes, yes.
A lot of general management work has to be done. Apart from what specific things you have told, he has to do a lot of general management work, and if you're not able to do that, that is going to hamper your progress.
Yeah, sure. Right.
So Javed, in continuation of the same question, being a company of a management side as of now, what exactly the primary requirements you are looking in this student or the recent graduates from the colleges like a Truba or any private sort of institute, I would say. So what are the basic needs you people are looking into them? Is there any specific requirements or something?
Yeah, see, when a company recruits, from college, they don't go for, certain expertise. They look for, a kind of, learning attitude. Exactly, I will say that when a company is looking for a fresher, they don't need an expert. They need, if you know the basics, right? And you are ready to learn. And you are, see, because if you are able to mold yourself as per the company, that's what is required for the company. So whenever the HR comes and takes the interview, and students tell I know all this stuff, I have learned in my BTech, you know and they, to certify that, they ask some questions. For example, a technical person is sitting over there and he asks, something related to, strength of materials, or, some building construction materials, some tests, even some tests, how will you test the cement on site? That knowledge, should be there with a civil engineering graduate, that, okay, what is the good material? How you identify the good material? How will you, tackle the mason who is working at the site? Because a civil engineering graduate who is graduating from college, he don't know how even the missionary work is done. So when you are supposed to, supervise that person who knows, more than you, so you have to have some kind of, skills available with you. So that's why there is a time of, some 2 to 3 months, which companies give all the fresh graduates and deploy them at site with some senior so that they can learn and bridge that gap. So that when they go to the next site, they should not feel okay, the person who is working below them is having more knowledge. You know, I'm not degrading the student, but this is the reality. So because you have to have the skills available with you, management is very important. Because if you are, see, I'm not saying if you are not, if you don't know how to do the brickwork, you can't manage that. But a kind of management is there. Ratan Tata is managing the whole lot of companies, automotive companies and, salt making company. He don't know how to make salt. He is not an expert of automobiles, but he knows how to manage the show. He can manage. So you need to know the right, attitude with you. You are ready to learn, and you are having some creativity with you. Many of the interviewers ask, what you have done creatively to solve a problem. They are looking for something, which you have done different from other students. That's it. Some instance where you have learned something, where you have done, you know, out of the box, something like that. So those kind of students will be selected first when interviewed. So I would suggest all the students, if you are preparing for the interviews, instead of focusing on your very very deep knowledge about the subjects and all, it's very important to have subject knowledge. There are people who are scoring like 9.5 pointers and all, but when they go into the interview, they are not able to speak. So having that kind of attitude, or having that, don't having that speaking skill in, in front of the interviewer is also not going to help you, because it's not only the academia that will help you in the industry. Your behavior, your attitude, your soft skills are also very very important.
Communication skills.
Yeah, communication. It's B, because what you know is in your mind. The person sitting on the other side of table don't know how much the strength of materials, or ED, or whatever steel structures. You have to say, and you have to prove that when you are going to come into the company, you are going to add the value. This is the the tagline which company uses. If you are coming on board, how you are going to add the value to our company. So if you can answer that I am going to add value by having a skill that, and I'm going to perform this work for you, that's more than enough for our employer to take it.
Mohammad Atiullah has got some question for you. Mohammad, can you unmute yourself? Mohammad Atiullah. Okay, I think some.
Mohammad Atullah, आवाज आ रही है? You can mute yourself if you want to ask a question.
Maybe network issue.
I think.
I really don't understand. I mean, we are having such a good discussion. Why can't we open the videos and we can have some discussion? I mean, it is looking like for a Javed also, even for me, it is looking like we are talking with the aliens. There is no one in the meeting. Open your videos and have a discussion. It's a golden opportunity, students. And I'm asking the question on behalf of you. These questions you should ask. What are the requirement of the interview and all. And so I should not ask this question. Just open your videos and just come and let's have words with Javed ji. He is here, and definitely this experience, like he's having a 7 years of experience from 2014 to 2021. So it's a huge experience. You should learn. Like these are the golden opportunity. We started the Samvad so that you can be enlightened. And the same thing your teachers are saying, and we are bringing the expert among you so that the same, like in line with everything. Everyone is going in the same direction. We always emphasize on the communication skill. Today when Javed ji was saying the same thing, I was seeing the Rashmi ma'am was so happy to see this. she always like pressurize the student, work on the communication, and so this is really like nice when the academia and industry is in the same phase and they are on the same platform. So students, just open your video and talk to him. I think you people should ask now. Like we all three will be just shut, and you need to ask the question. Still, you have not opened the video. See.
So anybody wants to ask question? Karnik, I thought you were raising hand in some.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Sir, what if we are going to do a project work and the organization says that you have to do that with your team, but the planning should be on the ideas of your team members. And each and every idea should be taken by your team members. And so if we are taking ideas from each and every person from the team, so how much percentage of the project has to be that the project will be completed on the time or before the time?
Very good question. Personal ideas and opinions are very important, but when the project is executed, personal opinions and ideas are not taken into account. There are defined methodologies in terms of method statements, which are issued by quality department, and according to which the work need to be executed. You may have companies also say, some of the companies which are very redundant about the different approaches. Now they will say in the interview that whatever experience you are having is good, but keep it aside because we have a very good system here available with us. So you need to just follow the system, and our process are designed in such a way that it will create the result which management wants. But in kind of dynamic way or in a creative environment where your teamwork is involved, and if you are the same question there, then I will tell you that having in our construction side, we have a process called Kaizen, where we take ideas from all the peoples available. It happens generally when we have a safety talk in the morning. So what happens is, whatever happened in the last day, if some safety lapse happened on that day, on the next morning when this safety talk happens, toolbox talk, to be very precise, toolbox talk happen every morning. There is a group of people, all the safety people or the staff of the company. They form a circle and then they stand, and then they talk about what happened yesterday, which was wrong, and how we are going to keep it correct today. So anything which happened, yesterday, for example, a mason who has not used, helmet, or someone slipped on the side, something happened in safety lapse, which is a near miss, not a fatal, accident, but a near miss, which can result in a fatal accident later. So how you're going to, eliminate that kind of situation from arising in the next day. So in the morning, you take the opinions, and then everyone comes up with the idea that, okay, if we use this kind of system, maybe it's a kind of positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement. For example, positive reinforcement is whoever, the crew or the subcontractor does very good work with all the safety equipments on, he will be given, a award. So best safe workers for the month or something. So that's called a positive reinforcement. You are encouraging people to use safety harnesses or helmets or jackets so that they will be safe and your work is also done. Negative reinforcement is you are saying to the contractor that who will not follow the safety compliances, I will kick you out of the site. So there will be a fear in people, and they will maintain only a constant behavior. They will not raise your expectations. They will maintain, okay, if I'm doing this, I'm not going anywhere. They are not going to kick me out of the site, but he is not going to improve. So positive reinforcement, when you deploy, people will perform more than expectations to get that extra reward. So in teamwork also that happens. if a company is working, and they are having a small award like, employee of the month or employee of the month, all the employees will, work hard to get that achievement, because the basic human behavior, they want to be recognized. They feel happy when they, being recognized. A person, in the class, if someone is selected as a class monitor, he have a different attitude, right? Because he has the recognition, he is the monitor of the class, so that is also works into teamwork. So if you're working with the team, you need to identify, which member of your team is not, working or not having, participating in your work, or even not participating in the talks you guys are having. You can have a separate, kind of positive reinforcement, or having a negative reinforcement also work in place, so that everyone maintains something, the level of performance. And also the people who are willing to provide their extra, they will go for the extra performance also.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, on the behalf of so ma'am, can you now? Anybody has any questions? No? So, ma'am.
No, okay, we can go ahead.
Yeah. So on behalf of Department of Civil Engineering of Cuba Group of Institute, I give a really heartfelt thanks to our keynote speaker who provided us with immense knowledge on role playing and management in construction industries. This will really help us in part of our forthcoming life. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Javed.
Thank you, sir, for such a wonderful session. Or it is really very knowledgeable and helpful for the student to know about their future, how they are going to do, and what all things that we have to cover in academics during this with the academic session. So it's really very wonderful and very nice session. So I thought that ma'am, we should end करने का तो मन नहीं चाह रहे हैं, but we should end this session. Thank you so much, sir. Again, thank you for such a valuable knowledge and time that you give to our students. Thank you, sir.